Welcome back. In this video, we're going to add a functionality that will reset the game once a certain condition is met, and that is that the player is falling down. So currently we have the situation where if we're falling down, we have to reset Unity, reset the playing of the Unity game. And that is something that I don't want to have to do manually. So if I'm falling down, after a certain time, I want to reset the game, and not the time is going to be important, but after I hit a certain point in the world. So what we can do for that is we can just go ahead and create a new empty object, and I'm going to call this one game reset, maybe with an empty space in between, something like that. And this game reset, let's reset the position of it, and it will have a box collider. So let me add a component here, box collider. And now let's change the settings of this box collider. So I want this box collider to be huge. So something like 100 times 100, for example. Okay, so it should be just here underneath our ground. So let's change the position of the y coordinate. So something like -5. So what that will do is, if the player falls off the platform and he touches this box collider, what I want to happen is I want to reset the game. So let's make sure that this box collider will be a trigger, and it will simply trigger the resetting of the game. Therefore, let's go ahead and create a new script. So create in a C# script here. I'm going to call this script game reset. Inside of this game reset, we are going to need the Unity Engine scene management namespace. So scene management, like so. And now we can create a method that will reset the scene. So let's get rid of the start and update method. We won't need those. So public void reset scene. And what we want to do in here is we want to reload the current scene. So we have seen how we can load a scene by getting its index, but now we're going to see how we can get the current scene to be reloaded. So here, just go ahead and use scene, and I'm going to call this one current scene, and let's get the SceneManager's active scene. So this is the code that you need to use in order to get the current scene. So what you can now do is you can reload the current scene by using the SceneManager also. So SceneManager.load scene, and what we're going to do is we're going to load it asynchronously. So once the scene is loaded and ready, it will display. Okay, and here I'm just going to say, well, I need to either pass a scene build index or the scene name. Now the scene struct has a name property. So if we look at the scene struct, we see it has this name property. It also has the build index, so either way is fine. So what we can now do is we can use our current scene to either use the build index. That would be one way of doing it. That would be totally fine. Or you can also just use the name. Either way is going to do the trick, because this load scene async has multiple different overloads. So in this case, it's going to use the scene name overload, and otherwise it's going to use the build index overload. So both ways will be fine. Decide which one you want to use. And now when will we call this method? Because it's a method that we created ourselves. Well, I'd say let's call it once the onTriggerEnter is triggered. And when should we call it in particular? Well, if the object that we are colliding with that triggered this event is going to be our player. So let's compare the tag and see if it is the player tag assigned to it. And if that's the case, let's reset the scene. So let's call our reset scene method, which will internally reset the scene. So now let's save this game reset script. Let's go over to our game reset game object here, and let's assign the script to it. Okay, so what's important is that the isTrigger is activated, that the center is underneath our platform, so to speak. Now you could make this a lot bigger as well, something like 500 times 500, in case you're afraid that the player in any way or form can be pushed this far away off the platform. So either way should be fine. And now let's just try it. So let's run the game and let's see if our game will be reset once we fall off the cliff. So falling off, bam, reset. And Unity does this weird thing where it changes the color if you reload the scene. So I made it all the way to the other platform. It is really dependent on the weight, the jump force, and all of that kind of stuff of my player. But yeah, once I touch the ground, so once I fell off the cliff, it resets the scene. So that's a very simple approach how you can achieve a reset in such a physics-based 3D jump and run kind of game or platformer kind of game. All right, that's it for this video. See you in the next one.